Hello, everyone. My name is Ezra, also known as eSoup, and today we're finally starting Volume 2 of Case File Compendium after the internet was conspiring against me. The internet, the weather, just everything. But we've finally made it. Good to see y'all. Hi, Nina. Hi, Psykeen. And yeah, I'm so glad, Psykeen, I'm glad you made it home just in time. Yeah, the weather hated me. My internet hated me. Fingers crossed that it behaves because I swear my internet has been doing poorly in the cold weather, and there's like no reason. Like it won't be storming or anything, and it just like we have to reset it a bunch of times. So I'm really hoping that doesn't keep happening because I don't really know what to do about it. But yeah, fingers, toes, everything crossed. So please give a look at the trigger warnings in the description if you feel like you need to do that. And please give the video a like. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm super excited to get started today. I've said this before, but one thing I did not expect about the series at all was like the mystery, like the murder mystery element of it. That was not in my case file bingo card. And in fact, part of me is wondering, like, I always wondered, like, what is case file compendium? Like, what is that referred to? And I assumed at the beginning that that's like the compendium of case files about He Yu, about like his psychological Ebola, medical stuff, his mental health records or whatever. But now I sort of wonder if case files are referring to like the murder mystery, or like if it's referring to both things. I'm not really sure. So I wonder what your thoughts are on that, because it was something, it didn't occur to me for a little while, and then I was like, wait a minute, like what actually are the case files? Hi Henry. Um and as far as like theories about what's going to happen, I have zero, none, like my head is empty because I just feel like I'm not going to be able to predict anything in this series. It feels more unpredictable than Meat Bun's other series. Like, in my opinion, at least, it just feels completely like I have no thoughts. I'm just along for the ride. There is a cop friend for one of the leads. Yes. So they do have sort of like through Chenmon, I guess, in a way, it's like the characters have sort of an inside look of like the police stuff that might help out later on when like the murder mystery gets more enmeshed with like what's happening with them. But I don't know. I'm so curious. And also I'm gonna show y'all the cover of this book. Wait, let me, because it looks very like they've been through a lot. So they already went through a lot in the first book, and I'm like, okay, they're getting beat up again. They're bloody. There's, who knows what is going on. There's like well, actually, it's really hard to see, but there's like a car behind them, and there's like a guy in the background, in front of the car, and I don't know, but it seems very ominous. Henry, by that I mean for He Yu to be really mad and Chenmon to be confused. I need that. Yeah, I can expect those things to happen. Um, there's always a damn car. Hi, love bunnies. Yes, starting volume 2 already. In fact, we were actually delayed starting volume 2. This was supposed to have happened already. You're just popping in to say hi. I figured, because I was like, well, you wouldn't really know what's going on. But thank you for coming to say hi. So I'm gonna get started. We are on chapter 30, which has a really weird title. It's Who Said I Wanted Milk? That's sort of like a really strange title for the series. It almost, it falls out of the typical chapter title trends. A week passed in the blink of an eye. Instead of staying at the medical school over the weekend, Xie Qingcheng headed back to the old house in downtown Huzhou to take a look. It had fallen into disuse shortly after the Xie siblings started attending university. After all, men and women who required a degree of separation for decorum's sake, and that tiny space of roughly 100 square meters made life for both Xie Qingcheng and Xie Xue rather awkward. But they had formed close bonds with all their neighbors, including Auntie Li, who cherished them as if they were her own children. The Xie siblings returned for a few days at a time, every now and then to have dinner with her. Xie Qingcheng had been very busy recently, so it had been ages since he'd gone home. It just so happened that he was free that week, so he gave Xie Xue a call. "We're visiting Auntie Li this weekend. I'll come pick you up in my car." To his surprise, Xie Xue replied, "I passed through there a few days ago. I've already been to visit her." "Why didn't you tell me?" Xie Xue changed the subject clumsily. "I was just wandering around. You need to take 3 different subway lines to get from Huzhou University to Moyu Alley, and there aren't any major shopping malls nearby. You wandered all the way there by accident?" That's right." "Xie Xue, don't lie to me." Xie Qingcheng's voice turned abruptly chilly. "Have you been keeping something from me lately?" Xie Xue hemmed and hawed, but couldn't come up with any excuse. In the end, she simply exclaimed, "Guh, my phone's battery is dying." "Xie Xue, it's really dying. I'm hanging up, okay? Guh, I'm busy this weekend, so you can go by yourself. Remember to say hi to Auntie Li for me. Bye-bye." I wonder if she went there with her new boyfriend, whose name I'm forgetting right now, to, like, introduce him to Auntie Li or something. And she's obviously not going to tell her brother about that because she's dating the bad boy. Xie Qingcheng was about to protest, but all he got in response was a string of no-connection beeps. He hung up and tossed his phone onto his desk with an icy expression. Then he walked to his dorm's balcony and smoked an entire cigarette in frustration. Even if Xie Xue didn't come along, he still had to go back to visit Auntie Li and tidy up the house. Even though they rarely stayed there, it was still his and Xie Xue's real home. So, on Friday evening after class, Xie Qingcheng packed a few personal belongings and took the subway back to Moyu Alley. It was one of the few dilapidated long tongs in the city that still hadn't been demolished. Our first footnote of the book. A long tong is a style of architecture characteristic of old Shanghai. The term long tong can refer to either a network of lanes flanked by 2 or 3-story terraced houses, or a group of such houses connected by a lane. Built back in the era of foreign concessions, the edifice had dark red bricks and powdery white edging. The government allocated funds to spruce up the exteriors every year, but it couldn't change the fate of the building, like a beauty that had passed its prime. Henry, all Meat Bun knows is Auntie Li and heartrending homosexuality. And yeah, I also agree, the the justice in the dark is strong with this one. It's so funny because I'm currently reading Silent Reading Volume 1. So I'm, like, in that world again. With overlapping clotheslines like wrinkles that makeup couldn't conceal, and peeling paint that resembled faded lipstick, the sight of these short, squat buildings interspersed between the city's stylish, spacious modern high-rises brought to mind a group photo of old grandmothers alongside young people, very characteristic of their time. As Xie Qingcheng walked into the alley, The aunts and uncles who were busy talking in the laundry room greeted him. Professor Xie, you're back? Have you eaten yet, Dr. Xie? I have some extra corn that I can't finish. I'll bring it over later. After acknowledging them, Xie Qingcheng turned toward the doorway of the building with worn-out bicycles scattered in front and stepped through the gate of his own residence. The neighbors used to call him Xiao Xie until Xie Shui grew up and started spending more time around them than he did. She also spoke much more sweetly, which was why the neighbors gave the affectionate nickname to her, but addressed him politely as Professor Xie or Dr. Xie. Auntie Li was the only elder who didn't use these honorifics. Her unit was in the same apartment block as Xie Qingcheng's house, so after he got home and put away his change of clothes, he went to knock on her little red door. No one answered, even after he had knocked for a while. Who's making a racket? Do you want to die? It's the middle of the night, cursed the old uncle who lived in the attic upstairs. He had opened his window and just barely managed to stick out his balding head. When he saw Xie Qingcheng, he stopped sputtering and cursing. Oh, Dr. Xie is back. Uncle, where's Auntie Li? Ah, she saw Xiao Shui a couple of days ago and thought that you wouldn't come back so soon, so she went to her friend's place this morning. To her friend's place? Xie Qingcheng frowned. That's right. Ayo, you know what she's like. She gets so hyper around others. Apparently, she's doing some crazy cheap-how fashion show with her little friends, despite her age. She loves doing those sorts of things, so I'm guessing she won't be back for a few days. Xie Qingcheng didn't know how to respond. Dr. Xie, have you eaten yet? Done with his idle chattering, the uncle said, If you haven't, come on up and eat with me. Xie Qingcheng had never bothered with niceties with his neighbors. What are you having? Mangoes. The uncle reached his old and wrinkled hand, which looked like tree bark, out of the window and offered Xie Qingcheng a large, peeled mango. With his Xie Qingcheng stared. With his sparse strands of hair blowing wildly in the wind, the old rascal cackled when he saw Xie Qingcheng's expression. Look at you, so serious, frowning like that, he said, laughing hysterically. So funny. Forget it. You can eat on your own. I'm going home. With that, Xie Qingcheng entered his house, slamming the door behind him. The apartment was divided by into two halves by a simple blue curtain. Xie Shui's space was next to the window that overlooked the scenery outside. Although it was narrow and small, there were several pots of cute succulents and roses in full bloom. The princess bed, which Xie Qingcheng had gotten for her when she was in junior high, was covered in colorful dolls and cushions. Faded celebrity posters were taped to the wall next to it. Xie Qingcheng tossed his coat into his own bed and slid his slender fingers into the knot of his tie, pulling it loose with a sigh of relief. His bed was on the side near the door and separated from the rest of the room by a sheer curtain. He wasn't very picky about this kind of thing, so his bed was an old-fashioned wooden one passed down from his parents. Old furniture was built to last, and it was still very reliable and durable, even after more than 30 years dutifully by their side. After a busy work week, Xie Qingcheng was exhausted. He poured a glass of water and took some medicine, then took a nap on his bed. By the time he woke up, the sky was already completely dark. Since Auntie Li wasn't around, he was too lazy to have a proper meal, so he dug out his phone and randomly ordered some food for delivery. A WeChat notification popped up before he could close the app. It was a message from He Yu. Where are you? Xie Qingcheng couldn't be bothered to reply. A second message popped up. I came to the medical school to look for you, but I didn't see you. Xie Qingcheng was so tired he didn't feel like typing, so he replied using a minimal number of keystrokes. Home. In contrast, He Yu wasn't stingy with his words at all. You're home? You went home? Is Xie Shui there too? When someone who was constantly constantly tense, returned to the place where they felt at ease and could let themselves relax completely, it was very hard to wind them back up again. Psychine, you accidentally had the stream playing in both Discord and in Firefox. You were like, where is the... Oh god, that would be weird. I bet they were like, the timing was off a little bit. You're like, where is the sound coming from? Yeah, this stream is probably a little bit sinister sounding with all the echoes that you would get from that. That was exactly how Xie Qingcheng felt right now. Lying flat on his old-fashioned bed with his tie loosened and the top 2 buttons of his shirt undone, his entire body had sunk into lethargy, and he could barely stand to move even the tips of his fingers. He tapped the voice message button and said in a voice hoarse with exhaustion, "Why are you so annoying? She's not with me. It's the weekend. Why are you looking for me? I don't have any milk for you. Don't you know how to order takeout by yourself?" Xie Qingcheng didn't usually speak to He Yu so harshly, but he found it rather humiliating that He Yu had caught him cheating on their bet. He had yet to figure out how to recover his dignity, so he hadn't gone looking for the little devil all week. Now that He Yu had found him of his own accord, however, Xie Qingcheng was starting to get angry. He wanted to rest, not worry over this nutcase. Sure enough, the nutcase fell silent. A good long while passed before another text message arrived. "I'm bored." Xie Qingcheng shot back another stony voice message. "Go play with your classmates." "I want to come find you." "Do you not understand what I'm saying, He Yu? It's the weekend. I want to rest, and I'm at home. You only came a few times when you were little anyway, so it's not like you'd remember how to get here." Xie Qingcheng shut him down impatiently, but perhaps because he was tired and lying down in bed, there was inevitably a soft, nasal tone to his voice. He Yu replied, "Don't worry. I remember very well." Xie Qingcheng was rendered speechless. Of course He Yu remembered. How else could he be a Shueba? Henry, 2 soup. There were 2 soups. It's too many soup. "Don't come. I don't have the energy to entertain you. Unless you're sick. Are you sick?" "I'm not sick." "Then don't come." But He Yu was undeterred. "You lost to me last time, but I haven't made my demands yet, have I?" Xie Qingcheng stared listlessly at the ceiling. In the bluish glow of the cell phone screen, his face seemed even more overcast. "He Yu, just what exactly is it you want?" This time, He Yu's reply didn't come right away, as if he was pondering what to say. Just as Xie Qingcheng was about to run out of patience and toss his phone aside so that he could go back to sleep, He Yu sent another message. Surprisingly, it was a voice message this time. The young man's voice was in excellent condition, and he sounded reserved, like a deep pool of warmth. But the words that he uttered were completely shameless. "My illness isn't flaring up, but my mood isn't very good. I have to fake it in front of other people, and it's very tiring. But I don't have to do that when I'm with you. So I want to come find you to distract myself and relax." This is the thing. We've like definitely talked about this before, but this is the thing. Like, I think the big appeal that Xie Qingcheng has for He Yu is that he doesn't have to fake it as much when he's around him. And here he is just like going out and saying it. "Am I some kind of playground for you to come and distract yourself when you have nothing better to do?" Xie Qingcheng raged at that pleasant voice. "He Yu, what kind of mental problem is this? You used to run away from me faster than a dog from a beating. But now that you've gotten a taste of power, you keep coming back to me on your own? Are you addicted?" He Yu had no idea what was going on with himself either. Maybe it was because he'd constantly chased after Xie Shui in the past, so he always had something to look forward to. Now, there was nothing left for him to hang his hopes on, and he didn't want Xiaoshui to notice that he had his attention fixed on her, so he could only choose to shift his gaze elsewhere. I think this straight man has some figuring out to do about his thought process. Amidst this helpless confusion, he finally realized that Xie Qingcheng was the most suitable distraction. Xie Qingcheng understood him very well. And also, if nothing else, his eyes resembled Xie Shui's. What did I just say? He Yu knew that they weren't the real deal, but at least they could bring him a bit of comfort. Not to mention, the feeling of having Xie Qingcheng lose to him was very interesting. It was something he had never expected nor imagined before. Perhaps Xie Qingcheng was right. He Yu was a bit addicted. He'd waited and waited for Xie Qingcheng to order him around again, only for the order to never come. After an entire week of waiting, he felt a bit irritable, so he'd finally stooped to texting Xie Qingcheng himself tonight. Now, with Xie Qingcheng shutting him down repeatedly, he couldn't help but switch from text messages to voice messages with a cold expression on his face, hoping that the other man would be able to hear the displeasure in his voice. I'm coming over right now. Xie Qingcheng was so annoyed that he threw his phone at the wall. He Yu's voice, which was just asking to be spanked, continued uninterrupted in the cramped old room. You haven't come to find me for an entire week, Professor. You're not scared, are you? Xie Qingcheng sighed. Like hell I'd be fucking scared of you. He Yu was a man of action. If he said he was coming, he'd definitely show up. Xie Qingcheng hoped that He Yu would take a wrong turn and end up at someone else's house. But when a series of steady knocks sounded on the shabby old security door, Xie Qingcheng knew that hoping for He Yu's IQ to drop was less realistic than hoping he would fall through a manhole cover on his way through a construction site. The relentless knocking continued. Lying on the bed, Xie Qingcheng twitched his fingers slightly. He was so tired, it was like the power supply to his body had been cut off. He had no desire to get up at all. He Yu embodied the fine ethos of a modern university student by displaying the civilized and respectful attitude of someone who honored the old and cherished the young. He didn't hurry Xie Qingcheng, but he didn't leave either. He simply continued to rap on the door with his knuckles from time to time, his strikes measured, even as Xie Qingcheng lay on his bed. He Yu wasn't impatient at all. But however patient He Yu might have been, the energetic and sharp-eared old uncle upstairs was getting tetchy. He pushed open the attic window and yelled, knocking on and on. Shouldn't you ask if anyone's home before you keep knocking for so long? Huh? I don't know you, young man. Who are you looking for? Are you here for community service? To show goodwill to lonely senior citizens? How fucking embarrassing. Xie Qingcheng, the lonely senior citizen playing dead on the bed, was forced to get up and yank open the security door. It's fine, uncle, he yelled upstairs. It's someone I know. Xie Qingcheng grabbed the young man standing outside his half-open door by the collar and pulled him into the house. Get in here. The dingy door closed behind them with a bang, and the excessive force caused the good fortune sign on the door to tremble and slip into a crooked position. That's not ominous at all. Xie Qingcheng shoved He Yu against the wall with a dark expression on his face. What the hell are you doing? He Yu leaned back against the wall, giving off the mild fragrance of laundry detergent, alongside the vigorously youthful scent of a man who had spent too much time basking in the sun. That scent wafted into Xie Qingcheng's room, mingling with the cold and dreary smell of tobacco that hung in the air. He Yu raised an eyebrow and pointed upward. Didn't that uncle say so already? I'm here to show goodwill to lonely senior citizens. He maneuvered around Xie Qingcheng as he spoke, and turned on the room's main light with a click. He moved extremely smoothly, with absolutely none of the reservation a real volunteer would have. He was practically acting like he lived here. The most irritating thing of all was that, after wandering through the house, this volunteer turned back to politely make demands on the lonely senior citizen he was here to console. Xie, I'm a little hungry. Can you give me something to eat? Xie Qingcheng was so peeved he was about to lose it. Raking his fingers through his hair to push back his bangs, he said, "Why don't you go and drink some milk?" You have milk for me? Speechless, Xie Qingcheng irately rummaged through a cardboard box and threw a carton of Shuhua milk at He Yu. And Shuhua milk is a popular brand of lactose-free milk. He Yu glanced at it. This milk isn't pure enough. I never drink this brand. Glaring daggers, with his lips set in a thin, frosty line, Xie Qingcheng said, "Then, young master, what would you like to drink? Would you like me to find someone to produce milk for you on the spot?" She needs to stop with the milk thing. I can't. That's the end of the chapter. So we're on page 21 for chapter 31, which is called He Was Truly Shameless. Yes. Also, I like how the thing with He Yu and Xie Qingcheng is like their dynamic isn't always the same. It's kind of like flipping back and forth a little bit. Kind of like one of them will have the upper hand or be in essence like the more dominant one, and then it's something happens and it like switches. Because it's like Xie Qingcheng is saying things that are kind of like the type of things that I would expect He Yu to say, if that makes sense. I don't know. I love that. The impure milk was rejected. Meanwhile, the takeout that Xie Qingcheng had ordered consisted of only 2 steamed buns, 1 meat and 1 veggie. He Yu didn't like to eat meat buns because he found them too greasy. Meat bun mentioned. But if you gave him a veggie bun, he would feel the vegetable leaves hadn't been washed thoroughly enough. His attitude was exactly like that of a rich, old Republican-era landlord's concubine. In the end, boss man Xie opened the refrigerator with a cold expression, and with considerable effort, dug out a bag of wontons from the depths of the freezer. Boss man Xie asked concubine He, "My next-door neighbor made these. This is the last bag. They're all natural and preservative-free. This is the only food I have left. Do you want them or not?" Glancing at Bossman Xie's eyes, concubine He could tell that this manly patriarch's last shreds of patience had been worn out. He Yu had come here to relax, so it wouldn't do him any good to truly piss Xie Qingcheng off. So he smiled, unexpectedly showing some reserve with that pretty, handsome face of his, even though it was fake. "In that case, I'll have to trouble you." The scene that followed seemed like an absurdist parody of volunteerism. Dr. Xie, the lonely senior citizen who was supposed to be the subject of consolation, wore a gloomy expression with lips tightly pursed as he watched over a pot of water boiling on the electric stove, holding a wood-handled ladle. Meanwhile, He Yu, the university student volunteer who had come to dole out the consolation, very conscientiously stood as far out of Xie Qingcheng's line of sight as possible. A gentleman's place was not in the kitchen, so he examined the room with calm indifference, as if he were doing exactly what he ought to do. When He Yu was in junior high, he had come here on several occasions with Xie Shui. Li Ruoqiu had still been around at that time, and the photos from her wedding to Xie Qingcheng had been displayed in this room. Those photos were all gone now. But it seemed like it wasn't just Li Ruoqiu's photos that had disappeared. There were several other places that showed marks left by old pictures that had evidently been removed even earlier. It wasn't obvious unless he examined them closely, so He Yu thought that perhaps those photos had already been gone when he visited during his junior high years. However, his attention at the time had been focused on Xie Shui, so he hadn't been very observant. "Do you want vinegar?" Xie Qingcheng asked. "Yeah," He Yu said. "I'll add it myself." It was dead silent inside the room, but snippets of sounds from the neighbors' cramped houses in Moyu Alley could be heard from beyond the walls. Humans on Earth were like cells in the body, their movements charmingly out of sync with each other. Cells replicated at different times, and people lived according to their own rhythms. I love that. That's so beautifully put. When the household to the east was washing dishes and scrubbing chopsticks, the one to the west was only just lighting their stove with an audible spark. Leaning against the window frame, He Yu saw a chameleon crawling over the sill. He reached out a hand. Surprisingly, the chameleon wasn't afraid of him and allowed him to stroke its head. This was just how He Yu's aura was. Cold-blooded animals always had a close affinity to him and never ran away. Perhaps it was because they saw him as kin. Alright, I'm gonna just let that soak in. But Xie Shui's favorite animals were the fuzzy, warm-blooded ones. She was terrified of creatures like insects and reptiles. If Xie Shui saw this chameleon, she would definitely scream in fright and chase it away. As He Yu stroked the chameleon's head, it narrowed its eyes in enjoyment. Perhaps he and Xie Shui really were too different in some respects, he thought. Maybe that was why she liked Wei Dongheng. Right now, as he stood in the place where Xie Shui had spent her childhood and adolescence, the traces of her life here that would have once eased his mood became a luxuriant thicket of thorns instead, their roots burrowing deep in the earth and their branches piercing high into the sky. If a field of brambles grew in someone's heart, the world around them would only bring them pain. He Yu started to feel somewhat unwell, so he quietly bid goodbye to the chameleon and stepped away from Xie Shui's windowsill. When Xie Qingcheng scooped up the wontons, he turned around to discover that at some point, unbeknownst to him, university student volunteer He Yu had lain down on his bed and covered his face with his pillow. "What are you doing? Did you even take a shower before you decided to lie down on my bed?" Xie Qingcheng asked. He's like, "I am home now. This is my bed." He Yu didn't respond. He kept the pillow over his face, as though trying to hide himself like a chameleon. Xie Qingcheng asked again, "You're not going to answer?" He Yu kept quiet. "If you don't move, I'll assume you've been smothered to death and call the morgue to have you taken away." After a few seconds of silence, perhaps because he wanted to avoid the misfortune of getting sent to the morgue, He Yu finally lifted a hand and tugged the pillow down slightly to reveal his profile. His almond eyes were filled with disdain. "Your bed reeks of tobacco." Xie Qingcheng set the bowl down. "If you don't like the smell, then stop lying there and come eat. The sooner you finish eating, the sooner you can leave. I want to eat." The smell wasn't so strong last time I was here. That was ages ago. Indeed it was, He Yu thought. Back when what's-her-name, Li Ruoqiu, was still around, Xie Qingcheng didn't smoke. Cao Zi probably didn't let him. Xie Qingcheng was a rather cold person, but he had a strong sense of responsibility, especially when it came to his duties as a man. If his wife didn't like something, he would definitely find a way to accommodate her. As He Yu lay on Xie Qingcheng's bed, looking at his indifferent side profile, he couldn't help but remember the first time he visited Xie Qingcheng's home. Li Ruoqiu had gone to prepare snacks and tea for him, all smiles, and while he waited for her, he had inadvertently glanced at the large bed half hidden behind the gauze curtains. At the time, He Yu had found it rather strange, because he couldn't really visualize Xie Qingcheng sleeping with a woman. Were there really times when Xie Qingcheng's stern, solemn face were stained by desire? Yeah, I wonder why you're thinking about that. Why is that a thought that occurs to you to think, He Yu? Xie Qingcheng frowned. What are you thinking about? The mysteries of life, He Yu said in a gentle, refined voice. Xie Qingcheng had nothing to say to that. Xie Ge, did you go on any other matchmaking dates after that last one? I don't intend to remarry. You're only in your 30s, He Yu said slowly. Aren't you lonely? Xie Qingcheng glanced at him, unconcerned. Your line of questioning sure is broad, Dr. Busybody. He Yu smiled. It was probably because Xie Qingcheng had no sex drive. Are you eating the wontons? If not, I'm tossing them. He Yu was actually hungry, so he finally followed Xie Qingcheng's prompting and got up to sit at the small table. The chair Xie Qingcheng had him sit in was the same one that Xie Xue had used as a child. It was small, low, and very uncomfortable for the 189-centimeter tall He Yu. Xie Qingcheng tossed the little kid a bottle of vinegar and a spoon before asking frostily, Would you like a bib? He Yu didn't bother bickering with him. He turned his face and smiled slightly, looking very obedient. However, the harshness burning in his eyes betrayed his hostile intentions. In that case, why not feed me yourself, doctor? Xie Qingcheng didn't humor him with a response. Here. He Yu handed the silver spoon back to Xie Qingcheng. Scram and eat on your own, Xie Qingcheng said coldly. But the wontons were indeed a bit too hot. He Yu wanted to let them cool down first, so he picked up his phone and tapped away at it for a while. Xie Qingcheng couldn't hold back his paternal impulses. If you're going to eat, then eat. Don't play games on your phone. He Yu didn't even raise his head as his fingers flew over the screen. This isn't a game. Xie Qingcheng looked down at the screen to find that it indeed wasn't a game, but rather some sort of rapidly scrolling code. What is it? I'm practicing. These are hacking commands. Don't hackers use computers? I set it up myself, He Yu said calmly. My phone can do everything a computer can. Okay, I'm gonna make a prediction. The murder mystery that's like going on right now, at some point it's going to converge with like the main like He Yu Xie Qingcheng plot, and they're gonna be like involved for some reason, and He Yu's hacking abilities are going to come into play with figuring out the mystery. That's the one prediction that I'm making right now. Xie Qingcheng wasn't really interested in this sort of thing, nor did he understand it very well, but he had a vague idea of He Yu's skill, and he guessed he was very competent. Still, He Yu just treated attacking other people's firewalls as a game of heightened concentration. He'd never truly crossed the line. 2 minutes. He Yu finally hit the enter button, and the data froze on the bypass screen of a well-known website. He checked his watch. My speed was pretty good this time. Maybe it's because I'm in a rush to eat wontons. He closed the page with a smile. He had no interest whatsoever in their data. He just wanted to play with their firewall. Like an eccentric thief who liked opening all sorts of advanced locks, but who didn't bother stealing anything once the locks had been cracked. Xie Qingcheng looked on in silence as He Yu put down his phone. At this point, the wontons were at the perfect temperature, so He Yu bent his head and slowly began to eat. Handmade wontons were rarely available in stores. He Yu quietly finished the entire bowl, but still felt unsatisfied, so he turned to Xie Qingcheng. What are you looking at me for? There isn't any code on my face. I'd like another bowl. Do you think this is a prize unboxing game? Another bowl? A neighbor made those and gave them to me, and what you just ate was the last bag. There's no more. then do you know how to make them? We're really doing wontons again. I wasn't gonna say anything because I was like, okay, a neighbor made them. It's different, right? But we're really... Meat Bun is definitely gonna do it. We're really gonna get wontons again in this. I need to breathe. Xia Ching-chung took out a cigarette and held it in his mouth, mumbling, "Even if I did, I wouldn't make them for you." With that, he clicked his lighter on and turned his head slightly to light the cigarette held between his teeth. He Yu frowned deeply. "Xia Ching-chung, when exactly did you wind up with such a serious tobacco addiction? Can't you stop? This room is tiny to begin with, and now that you've filled it with smoke, I can barely breathe." "Is this your house or mine?" Xia Ching-chung took a drag and exhaled it in He Yu's direction without the slightest hint of courtesy, then gazed at him through the faint gray fog. "You come into my house, eat the wontons that I cooked, sit in my chair, and lie in my bed with my pillow on your face. You keep making demands, but you act like you're being so polite the whole time. If you can't breathe, you can go home. Your family's villa is surrounded by greenery. The air must be very fresh. The door is that way." He Yu was rendered speechless. Xia Ching-chung flicked away some ash from his cigarette. "Are you leaving?" He was met by silence. "If you're not, then make sure to wash your dishes. You're quite courteous when you're at other people's houses. Don't get all lazy now that you're here." Fine, it was just a simple chore. This young master had lived abroad, after all, so it wasn't as if he didn't know how to do dishes. With the sound of running water as accompaniment, Xia Ching-chung smoked an entire cigarette while leaning against the window. He'd been quite tired before, but after that disagreement with He Yu, he'd gradually lost that sense of exhaustion. The cigarette he smoked once the fatigue passed had left him feeling more awake now. He examined the way He Yu looked washing dishes before the sink. He had no bangs, and he looked refreshing with his handsome forehead exposed, though at the moment, with his head bent as he scrubbed the dishes, a few wisps of hair were hanging down over his brow. His skin was supple and smooth, and despite the dim lighting, his profile seemed to emit a soft glow. All right. Okay, Xia Ching-chung. That's what you're observing. He looked extremely youthful and delicate, and he was intelligent to boot. You had to get very close indeed to catch a whiff of his bestial degeneracy. Looking at him, Xia Ching-chung thought, if it wasn't for his mental illness, he'd be completely invincible. He could get any girl he wanted. I wonder what kind of girl it was who found him lacking. You know, it's funny, too, because Xia Shui is into this guy who's like a bad boy. And so, presumably, if He Yu had acted a little bit more like himself around her, instead of, like, being so, like, polite, maybe she would have liked him. You know, it's, like, completely, like, not what you would expect in this situation. You should replace this faucet. There's barely enough water coming out. After young Master He condescended to wash the wonton bowl, he turned off the water, let down the sleeves he'd rolled up, and wiped his hands dry. We don't come back very often these days, Xia Ching-chung responded. Changing it isn't worth the hassle. The young master thought this was no big deal and said, Then next time I'll have Lao Jiao find someone to replace it, along with this light. Xia Ching-chung's expression soured. What's wrong with the light? It's way too dim. It makes this place feel like a haunted house. If the room gets any darker, you won't even be able to tell who's standing in front of you. Xia Ching-chung grew angry at He Yu's disdainful tone. What kind of person started nitpicking the moment they put down their chopsticks after eating? I'm pretty sure this isn't your house, he scoffed. Besides, you're the one who struggles to identify the person in front of him, aren't you, He Yu? Oop. Oop. Yu didn't know what to say to that. It was true that he was having a hard time accepting what had happened at the Hangshu Hotel. That he had mistaken Xie Qingzheng for a woman, pinned him down, and kissed him from the table all the way to the bed. He immediately dropped his voice. You said you wouldn't bring that up again. Xie Qingcheng rolled his eyes. Do you think I wanted to? It's only because I can't get you to shut your mouth. Just as the awkwardness was beginning to set in, there came a knock at the door. Concubine He saw it as an opportunity to escape this uncomfortable topic, so he cleared his throat and managed to force a rather deferential tone. I'll get the door. Hello, I'm with Shunfeng Express Shipping. Is this Mr. Xie's address? Someone called from the outside. He Yu opened the door to see a young man mopping his sweat. Are you Mr. Xie? You booked an appointment today to have something shipped, and asked me to come pick it up at your door. He Yu turned back and said rather courteously, Mr. Xie, Shunfeng's here to pick up your package. That's right. I do have something that needs to be shipped, Xie Qingcheng recalled. He retrieved a box from the belongings he'd brought home and walked over. It's a basic daily necessity to be shipped to Sushi. Please check the order slip. It took all of my effort to not pronounce that as sushi. Because it looks like sushi, but in Chinese it would be sushi. And I was like, sushi? Shipped to sushi? Why would you do that? And yeah, okay. Alrighty, no problem. After the delivery boy had checked that everything was in order and was about to pack it up, He Yu, who was standing nearby with his arms crossed, suddenly had the feeling that something was off. Hold on. He stopped the delivery worker from sealing the box, opened it, and took out the article of clothing inside. A beat of deathly silence followed. He Yu, who moments ago had been servile and deferential, emanated a dark aura as he lifted the shirt and slowly turned his head. Xie Qingcheng. Without any change in expression, Xie Qingcheng asked, What is it? You resold the t-shirt I lent you on Xian Yu? Ooh, there's a footnote. Xian Yu is an online platform for the resale of luxury goods. The real-life app is called Idle Fish, referring to the unused, idle goods. But the name is written here as salted fish, a slang term for someone lazy or unambitious. Both are pronounced Xian Yu. I'm so glad they explained that to us. You said yourself that you don't want it anymore. Even as secondhand apparel, this shirt of yours is being fought over at the high price of 5,000 yuan. If I were to keep it, it'd only become a cleaning rag. Xie Qingcheng admitted calmly. What's the problem? What do you mean, what's the problem? Don't you know that I have mental germophobia? I'd rather ruin my things than give them to strangers. Okay, but you said you didn't want it. So, it's not yours anymore. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay. Xie Qingcheng was unmoved. That's one of the ways your mental illness manifests. This is the perfect opportunity for you to overcome it. I guess to be fair, he, even though he like gave it away and was like, it's not mine anymore, I guess he still kind of associates it as one of his things. So the germophobia still kicks in. I guess that makes sense. Also, oh my god, Henry, that's $720 US. No, honestly, I guess this is what the chapter title means. He was truly shameless about selling the shirt. But honestly, same here. In that situation, I would do the exact same thing. Or he wants Xie Qingcheng to have his shirt. Ooh, I bet somewhere deep inside, that's what he really wants. Yeah. As he spoke, he grabbed the box and shoved it into the bewildered delivery boy's hands. Ship it. The buyer said they'll pay the delivery fee when it arrives. Xie Qingcheng. The delivery boy hesitated and looked to either side. Then, do I ship it or not? The concubine. Don't ship it. The patriarch. Ship it. The delivery boy wiped his brow. Why don't you two take some more time to discuss it with each other? There's nothing to discuss. If I say ship it, then ship it. Xie Qingcheng's authoritarianism reared its head once more. He shot the delivery boy a glare. Hurry up. I'm the one who placed the order. Not many people could handle the daggers in Xie Qingcheng's eyes, so the delivery boy obediently accepted the order and hurried on his way. That left He Yu, who looked like he had a dense cloud hanging over him because his personal belongings had been sold, and Xie Qingcheng, who was in a great mood because he had just made 5,000 yuan. You're unhappy? Asked Xie Qingcheng. Then I'll treat you to a midnight snack. Let's go. He Yu stood there for a while, but he couldn't bear it anymore. Face blank, he picked up his messenger bag from the bed, shoved Xie Qingcheng out of the way with his shoulder, and walked out the door without a backward glance. You can eat on your own, he hissed through gritted teeth. Careful you don't eat through the 5,000 yuan you made from selling my shirt all in one go. Save it. And if you don't have enough to eat, give me a call, and I'll personally come and feed you myself. Hatefully hurling these harsh words in his wake, the young man left Xie Qingcheng's home with his bag slung over his back. His driver had been waiting outside the alley for a long while. With a cloudy expression on his face, He Yu tucked his long legs inside the car and instructed the driver to close the window. Long legs mentioned. He didn't spare so much as a glance for the bustling scenes of everyday life outside. Young master, are you feeling unwell? The driver asked. Do you need me to take you to the hospital? No need. He Yu leaned back against the seat sullenly. I don't want to see anyone wearing a white lab coat today. His phone vibrated as a man who wore a white lab coat sent him a message. Next Monday, come to my office for work. With a long face, young Master He promptly turned off his phone. That's the end of the chapter. And, I agree. I really like the narration with, like, concubine and patriarch. It's really funny. Oh, thank you, Nina. I really appreciate it. Well, that was the end of the chapter. And it is time to take a break. So I will be back in about 10 minutes. And when we are back, we will be on chapter 32, which is called I Really Was Wrongly Accused. Love that title, too. I'll see y'all in just a moment. Hello, I have returned. We are on page 33 for chapter 32. I really was wrongly accused. Regardless of how upset he was, Yu still went over to the medical school next door on the following Monday, messenger bag slung over his shoulder, and knocked on the door. The teacher nearest to the door said, "Come in." "Hello, I'm looking for Professor Xie," Yu said in a refined and courteous manner. "Xie Qingcheng, your student's here." Xie Qingcheng stepped out of the inner room of the office. To Yu's slight surprise, he was wearing a pair of glasses today. Xie Qingcheng hadn't been nearsighted before. "You've come at just the right time," Xie Qingcheng said crisply. "Come in." Yu couldn't help but sneak a few more glances at him. He was pretty handsome in those glasses. They made him look less stern and more scholarly, and Yu felt less annoyed when he looked at him. Unfortunately, when Xie Qingcheng opened his mouth and began to talk, his unbearable attitude returned in full force. "I want you to use these course materials to make some PowerPoint presentations for my class. Also, there are some documents here that need to be digitized. A lot of it is medical information, but I don't trust the accuracy of OCR, since it's easy for mistakes to happen when images are being converted to text. Make sure to double-check your work after you type it in manually. Got it?" Yu looked at the thick medical texts stacked on his desk. Most of them were large enough that they could have been used as blunt force murder weapons. "Professor Xie, don't you know that technology can liberate mankind?" he asked. Xie Qingcheng slammed one copy each of General Psychology and Social Psychology down in front of Yu, making the table quake and the computer screen tremble. "I do. But I also know that humans shouldn't become overly reliant on technology. Now get to work, starting with the content in these books that I've marked in red." Staring at the two brick-like books, both stuffed with so many sheets of annotations that they had practically doubled in thickness, Yu tried his best to maintain his composure. After all, he was sitting in Xie Qingcheng's office, and there were still several other professors here who had yet to leave. He whispered to Xie Qingcheng, "Are you trying to kill me?" Standing beside him, Xie Qingcheng took a sip of his coffee. "No, I'm trying to train your patience and willpower." Yu was speechless. "I don't ask for much. Just do your work carefully." Xie Qingcheng tossed him a Red Bull, then turned back to take care of his own business. Yu narrowed his almond eyes slightly. He opened Xie Qingcheng's computer and hovered the cursor over the word icon, his eyes dark behind the cage of his long lashes. Let's see. When dealing with the personal computer or mobile phone of a man in his 30s like Xie Qingcheng, it was only natural for it to contain content that wasn't suitable for polite company. Of course, to avoid death by social embarrassment, such a gentleman would carefully set a password for his device, create hidden folders, and refrain from lending it out. But Xie Qingcheng didn't care. He had given He Yu his own personal computer to use in his office. With the wicked intention of finding some leverage he could use against Xie Qingcheng, He Yu brought all his skills as a top hacker to bear searching the computer's contents. He'd originally thought he'd at least be able to find a risque video or two, but by the time He Yu had polished off an entire can of Red Bull, nothing had turned up. He couldn't believe it. He changed the code and searched again, but the result was the same. Xie Qingcheng's personal computer was spotless and pristine. There was nothing in there but academic files and salary reports. The entire device was so clean that it was almost unnerving. He Yu frowned and leaned back in the office chair as he fiddled with the empty can with his slender fingers. After thinking for a moment, he changed the code and added another section. Then hit enter to search. This time, he found a folder that Xie Qingcheng often used when he was off work. Furthermore, the folder's name, Happiness, was also suspicious. With Xie Qingcheng's straightforward, male chauvinist personality, his folder naming system was simple. Important files were edited to indicate Course Materials Number 1 and Course Materials Number 2, while unimportant files retained the default names that the computer had assigned them. He couldn't even be bothered to move his fingers to fix the titles. As such, the new folder naming scheme had already reached number 23. This happiness folder didn't quite fit Xie Qingcheng's personality. When it appeared, He Yu's eyes brightened at once. His energy shot up, and his back straightened as he focused all his attention on the screen. He moved the cursor over the pale yellow file folder and double-clicked. The folder opened. Skimming through it quickly, He Yu's expression immediately changed from excited to calm. Then he frowned, thinking that Xie Qingcheng was completely incomprehensible. Inside that folder labeled Happiness, all he saw were a handful of photos of freshwater jellyfish and a couple of videos. Aren't there jellyfish on one of the book covers? I haven't looked very hard at any of the covers. And I don't know if this one comes up for a while. But I swear there's a cover with jellyfish on it. Videos of sea jellies from all over the world, from moon jellyfish to flame jellyfish, from every angle that you could possibly imagine. One of the videos was over an hour long. He Yu dragged the progress bar several times, but it really only featured footage of sea jellies floating about like wisps of smoke. He Yu was baffled. So Xie Qingcheng's happiness was watching these jellyfish videos? They were quite pretty. Ancient life forms floating in the ocean like sinking mist or moonlight spilling into the water. But even so, He Yu couldn't understand this old man's taste, so he closed the video and exited the screen. A bit dissatisfied with his discovery, He Yu propped his chin in one hand and changed his troubleshooting methods a few more times. But Xie Qingcheng's personal computer really was just like the world after a snowfall. Pure white and perfectly pristine. That's a good question, Henry. Why drag the progress bar? Did you think he was hiding porn footage in an hour-long jellyfish video? He tossed the mouse aside and gave up. He Yu toyed with his empty can, lost in deep thought. If Xie Qingcheng was a normal man, he should still have some semblance of desire. He turned his gaze back toward the computer screen, coming to the conclusion that Xie Qingcheng was really much too frigid. He was definitely, without a doubt, hyposexual. There's a word for this, and you're so close, but you're not quite there yet. If that was the case, Yu needed to change his methods. He abandoned his plan of looking for porn videos on Xie Qingcheng's computer. Running his tongue gently over his teeth, he regathered his focus as another idea came to him. Xie Qingcheng had a lecture the next day, in the afternoon. Coincidentally, Yu was free then, and since he was the one charged with digitizing the class files for Xie Qingcheng, he decided he might as well head over to the medical school and sit in the last row of the multimedia classroom to listen to a free lecture. Xie Qingcheng hadn't wanted him to come at first. Why is a screenwriting and directing student trying to sit in on a psychiatry class? Yu politely responded, "Guh, I'm a psychiatric patient." Xie Qingcheng gave him a look. "Besides, I'm the one who made your presentation slides last night. If anything goes wrong, I can solve it right away, right?" Xie Qingcheng thought it over. He supposed Yu had a point, so he let him do as he pleased. But the moment Yu entered the classroom, Xie Qingcheng began to regret it. He had forgotten about their bet. Yu had spoken closely with all the female students on that list of names he'd given him. Those 11 girls, who were taking psychiatry as an elective, widened their eyes when they saw Yu walk in, rare smiles of infatuation immediately appearing on their faces. One of them called out to Yu, "Hey there, handsome. What are you doing here?" Yu waved at her, but then made a silencing gesture and pointed to where Xie Qingcheng was standing before the lectern. "Ooh," the girl immediately lowered her voice and nodded. Then, she very cooperatively turned her head and looked attentively toward the lectern to prepare for class. Yu sat down in the last row of seats, next to the window. He tossed his messenger bag down beside him, leaned back with his arms crossed, and took out the earbuds he had been wearing his whole way here as he looked toward Xie Qingcheng. His message couldn't be clearer. "Look at me, aren't I very polite? Even though your lecture is gibberish to me, I'll listen attentively to everything you say out of respect." Unfortunately, his facade only garnered an eye roll from Xie Qingcheng. Xie Qingcheng placed his textbook on the table with an air of indifference. After his gaze circled back from Yu, he asked with an overcast expression, "What are you all looking at him for? Have you never seen someone from the neighboring school sit in on a class before?" All the students were cowed into silence under the pressure exerted by Professor Xie, but they surreptitiously exchanged glances with each other. They really hadn't seen this kind of thing before. Not unless you counted idol dramas about cross-campus romances. Some of the female students, especially the ones who had already met Yu, began to indulge in this fantasy. Those whose neurons fired the most quickly had already decided on a maternity hospital for their future children. One after another, they adjusted their posture to look as elegant as they could, hoping that this handsome young man would notice them from his seat in the last row. It was impossible for Xie Qingcheng not to take note of this scene as he stood at the lectern. This prim and proper professor, who was afflicted with sexual apathy, found it all abhorrent. But because of his chauvinistic personality, he wasn't the type to blame such behavior on his female students. Instead, he held Yu responsible. After glaring at Yu for several more seconds, he finally said in a very cold voice, "Class is starting, so open your books. For today's lecture, you are all forbidden from looking backward. Those incapable of keeping their necks from turning will have 6 points deducted from their final grade. Consider the consequences on your own." The students all fell silent. Meanwhile, Yu, the subject of all this, couldn't help but lower his head and smile. Previously, he had found Xie Xue's attempt at intimidating her students pretty silly. Now, he had finally discovered the source of this foolishness. Of course, she had learned it from Xie Qingcheng. Xie Qingcheng began the class by going through yesterday's post-lecture exercise questions with the students. According to the CCMD-3, mental disorders include manic episodes, depressive episodes, bipolar disorders, cyclothymia, dysthymia, Although most university students spent 4 years of their youth in the dormitories, sleeping on simple wooden beds, relaxing and taking it easy after their college entry exams, medical students definitely did not belong within this category of undergraduates who lived with the leisure of immortals. Instead, they might spend a minimum of 5 years reliving their miserable senior year of high school lifestyle. Case in point, Xie Qingcheng spent half the class going over an ordinary homework assignment, a testament to its length. As for He Yu, the student sitting in on the lecture, he at least had the self-awareness of someone who'd shown up uninvited and was actually pretty quiet. He sat in his corner in the back row with his arms crossed, watching Xie Qingcheng. He discovered that although the way Xie Qingcheng and Xie Shui threatened their students was identical, their teaching methods were completely different. Xie Shui did her utmost to rouse the energy in the room, trying to make all the material she described come to life. In contrast, Xie Qingcheng practically ignored his entire classroom of students. He stood ramrod straight behind the lectern, looking as though he didn't even belong to this world. Reality had nothing to do with him. It was as if half of him had sunken into some illusory space where knowledge and data acquired material forms that drifted through the air behind him. It was clear that he belonged to the pure scholarship faction of professors. He didn't want to patiently and systematically guide his students while imparting knowledge, nor did he intend to waste his time and effort coaxing them to learn and study. Instead, Xie Qingcheng was like a lofty messiah who had strolled out of the hallowed temple of knowledge with his long, slender fingertips stained with ink, exhaling the scent of books from between his thin lips. With an expression that was focused and self-aware to the point of recognizing the impermanence of self, he exuded an air of extreme nobility. It seemed like he didn't care whether you learned or even looked at him, but his bearing at the lectern was in and of itself the most perfect representation of his devotion to the ideal of knowledge. He Yu genuinely suspected that, at any moment, he would say something along the lines of, "This exalted one has descended to the world of mortals to bestow knowledge upon you students. All present should kneel in gratitude for this divine favor." As He Yu turned this over in his mind, he gazed at the man at the lectern with the indifferent expression. He was still fully immersed in the world of medicine. All right, that's all for yesterday's questions. Now turn your attention to this presentation. These words pulled He Yu out of his thoughts. He lifted his eyes as he relaxed the arms that he had kept crossed over his chest. Interlacing his fingers, he set his hands on the table and leaned forward slightly in his seat. I am scared that he did something in the digitizing of the lectures and, like, inserted something in the lecture that should not be there. I'm so concerned. It was a posture that denoted anticipation. And there was certainly no reason He Yu should have been feeling any keen anticipation in Xie Qingcheng's class. But unfortunately, Professor Xie had grown used to being dismissive of others, and felt even more disinterested in dumb fucks like He Yu, who sat in on classes in their leisure time. So he didn't notice the sudden flicker of tension on his guest's face. He opened his laptop, connected to the internet, and adjusted the projector. Under the watchful eyes of the students, the cursor moved over to the presentation that He Yu had named Class Material Number 1. I'm so scared, y'all. I don't know why. I think it's like a secondhand embarrassment thing. I'm like, oh god, he altered the lecture. Oh god, what is it going to be? With a double click, the presentation opened. Xie Qingcheng didn't even look at the screen before lifting his head. Today we will be discussing hallucinations, proprioceptive hallucinations, true hallucinations, pseudo-hallucinations. He talked for a long while, completely absorbed in his own lecture. It was only when a male student sitting in the front row finally couldn't help but lower his head with a sputter of laughter that Xie Qingcheng finally realized that something was off. However, he didn't look back at his presentation. He only furrowed his brow and asked that fearless student, "What is it?" This time, the male student was no longer the only one who couldn't resist laughing. "Professor Xie, your PowerPoint." Only then did Xie Qingcheng look back at his screen. Out of concern for students' learning, the president of the university had made great efforts to upgrade the school's hardware facilities. The newly replaced multimedia classroom projector was very bright and clear, and it projected the PowerPoint slide in fine detail. On the screen was a group of cute, digitally rendered baby sea jellies, their shapes somewhat reminiscent of chibi-fied moon jellyfish. The image was even a fucking animated GIF, with the baby sea jellies adorably going through a series of repeated motions with the caption... with the captions, "Baby is so mad. Baby has fainted. And baby is done playing with you. Goodbye." I was so worried it was going to be something inappropriate, and it's this. Alright, now I'm going to show y'all the image, the art. The beautiful art. You can kind of see the jellyfish outlines. Yeah. The impact of the sickeningly childish animation was so strong, it caused Xie Qingcheng's breath to stutter to a stop. Without thinking, he tried to draw a cigarette to suppress his shock. He Yu couldn't help but turn his face away, his shoulders trembling as he ducked his head in laughter. Xie Qingcheng whipped around angrily and spotted the culprit leaning comfortably back against his chair with his lashes lowered. Sensing his gaze, He Yu raised his head to reveal the thin, completely undisguised hint of a smile curving at the corners of his lips. This little devil. Xie Qingcheng's stare was about to pierce through He Yu and nail him to his seat. That's a good question, Henry. Did he have these in his happiness folder, or is it like... See, I want to say probably not. I want to say it's something that He Yu found online, and he just thought it was, like, fitting. But I feel like even Xie Qingcheng doesn't have, like, cute animated GIFs of jellyfish in his happiness folder. He Yu was certain Xie Qingcheng wouldn't admit that he'd conscripted an able-bodied man into making his presentation slides for him in front of a crowd. So, He Yu unfolded his fingers, lifted a hand with a smile and a slightly raised brow, and tapped lightly on his cell phone where it lay on the desk. His gesture was self-explanatory. He was hinting that Xie Qingcheng should check his notifications. Xie Qingcheng returned to his lectern and closed the presentation with an extremely dark expression. "There's something wrong with the class materials. Please wait a moment." It was exceedingly rare for the students to see Professor Xie make a mistake, much less such a silly one. If not for Xie Qingcheng's prestigious reputation, they would have long since burst into hysterical laughter. Everyone did their utmost to suppress it, but it wasn't easy. Who could possibly have the mind to notice the tumultuous tension between their professor and the student from the neighboring university who had come to listen in on their class? Xie Qingcheng seized the opportunity to swipe open his cell phone, his face overcast. As expected, there was a message from He Yu sent 2 minutes prior. "Would you like the real PowerPoint? What do you want?" He Yu is typing. A beat passed. The chat window still said, "He Yu is typing." Unable to bear it any longer, Xie Qingcheng looked up once more, his eyes skimming past the students choking on their laughter, to glare at that gently refined youth reclining casually in his chair and typing ever so unhurriedly. It was as if He Yu was set on grating over Xie Qingcheng's sore spot, dragging out this awkward scene that could cause Professor Xie to die of embarrassment. He Yu didn't even look at Xie Qingcheng as he extended a single slender finger and slid it across the screen, entering several words, then deleting them, and then repeating the motions, as though he was earnestly pondering the conditions for their exchange. It was a pity that He Yu's happy mood, hidden beneath his mask of civility, was exposed when he raised his brows in self-satisfaction at the success of his evil plan. Just as Xie Qingcheng was about to lose it and walk over to where He Yu was seated to slam a hand onto his table, the message finally arrived. Xie Qingcheng immediately unlocked his vibrating cell phone. "Do you remember that shirt of mine that you sold?" Xie Qingcheng stared. "Send me 5,000 yuan and I'll come help you fix your PowerPoint." Then, after another long silence, "While I'm here, a word of warning. If you carry on ignoring me, in 10 minutes, your laptop will automatically download and play some rather vulgar videos. Even if you try to force it to shut down, it will be useless. So, Professor, please make the call yourself. I might up my price in a few minutes. Who knows?" This man, like, the stupidest part is he does not need this money at all. Like, he gave away that shirt. He didn't care. He didn't care about the money then. But he just wants to stay winning. Once he finished typing, the hacker set down this tool that he had used to privately communicate with Xie Qingcheng in full view of everyone. Then he slung one of his arms behind him, propped his elbow over the back of his chair, and tipped his chin upward toward the projector at an angle that couldn't be seen by bystanders. He raised his other hand to casually tug at his collar, revealing an innocent yet dark smile to Xie Qingcheng. Xie Qingcheng glared at He Yu with a malevolent expression as he slowly picked up his cell phone. Opening the funds transfer page in the Alipay app, he gritted his teeth and inputted the amount that He Yu had demanded. A second later, He Yu's phone buzzed on the desk. He looked down, his lashes obscuring his almond eyes, and saw that 5,000 yuan had been deposited into his Alipay account. Then he got to his feet. As expected of an actor who had been featured in a shitty little drama, He Yu's skills were no longer those of a beginner. He ably feigned concern for Xie Qingcheng as he walked up to the lectern. "Sorry about that, Professor Xie. Seems like I clicked on your course materials by accident when I was backing up your sister's files to your computer yesterday. I'm really very sorry." As the profiteer of his misfortune, student He Yu very courteously collected the scraps of Professor Xie's dignity from the ground, then bent down to begin setting things up on Xie Qingcheng's laptop. Soon after, He Yu dug the real PowerPoint that he had prepared out of his files. He raised a hand and retreated respectfully and genteelly to the side, offering his spot back to Xie Qingcheng. "Here you go, Professor." And just like that, the disruption was smoothed over, with He Yu emerging victorious once again. Still, Xie Qingcheng's expression was gloomier than the dark clouds on doomsday for the rest of the class, like the calm before a storm. His eyes were colder than ever, as though they were embedded with shards of ice. He Yu didn't doubt for a second that, if glaring daggers was a physical phenomenon, he would have long since been perforated so thoroughly he could be used as a sieve. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I swallowed my water wrong. And, oh god. I just looked down the page, and now I'm scared again. Let's see if I can actually get through this. But this theoretical supposition was clearly not tenable. So he smiled and accepted every single dagger with a roguishness that went undetected by onlookers. That's it for today's lecture. Finally, Xie Qingcheng ended the damned presentation portion of the class with 5 minutes to spare, extremely relieved to have brought this matter to a close. I'll be posting the homework for this week on the school's intranet, so make sure to download all of it. The relaxed Professor Xie exited the PowerPoint and opened the internet browser. After entering the school's web address, he pressed enter with a decisive click. A few seconds later, unlimited adult videos, free to download, hot busty babes in your area, 1 million plus sexy porn videos. Click here. Don't bother typing this into your browser, you dummy.com/nothing to see here. A pop-up advertisement window blew up on the projector screen. A scantily clad woman posed coquettishly as she gazed out at the flabbergasted class. All the students fell deathly silent. Xie Qingcheng's eyes shot to He Yu immediately. He Yu gaped. It was just his damned luck. He really had nothing to do with it this time. Did he really? He really had nothing to do with this. He really was wrongly accused. Is that so? That's the end of the chapter. Psychine, supposed to drink that, not breathe it in. I do have a problem sometimes. I don't always know how to drink things properly. Yeah, Henry, I would quit my job and go swimming with the jellyfishes. Yeah, same. You would never hear from me again. Yeah, no, totally. We're on page 49 for chapter 33, which is He Walked Right into a Trap. After the incident with the course materials, He Yu explained himself to Xie Qingcheng over and over. But Xie Qingcheng wasn't just overly paternal. He was also a professor. He might be able to let other mishaps go, but there was no way he could put this matter behind him. For a long while, Xie Qingcheng was reluctant to acknowledge He Yu at all. Helping He Yu manage his mental state was one thing, but He Yu provoking him was another entirely. He Yu had stomped on Xie Qingcheng's minefield. Xie Qingcheng could only bare his teeth in turn. Justice was not blind. The opportunity for him to put He Yu in his place came very quickly. On this day, Xie Xue phoned Xie Qingcheng. Huzhou University and Huzhou Medical School are having a centennial celebration of their founding. Did you hear? What are they doing? Oh, one of the items on the agenda is for our 2 schools to collaborate on filming a movie. Not the kind that gets aired, but it'll be posted on the university website, and they're going to organize a celebratory viewing. Her brother didn't cut her off, so Xie Xue rambled on. It's just a practice piece being filmed for fun, but because it's the centennial anniversary of both Huzhou University and Huzhou School of Medicine, the admins are taking it pretty seriously and providing a lot of funding. They want the teachers to organize the filming with students from the appropriate majors. It's a super rare opportunity, so I've already started working on the script. Can you come and act as a medical consultant? Xie Qingcheng had no interest in this, but since Xie Xue was the one who made the request, he said, "Send me the proposal. I'll take a look." Ooh, sure, of course. You have to cheer me on. Not long after she hung up, Xie Xue sent Xie Qingcheng the files for the planned proposal. The staff and students of Huzhou University already had a rough idea as to the general direction of the film. Because it was a collaboration with the neighboring medical school, the working title of this anniversary project in their drafted plan was The Many Faces of Malady, an anthology series on the experiences of various patients and other marginalized groups. Xie Qingcheng was in his office drinking black coffee. After roughly skimming through the file, he found that the project required a considerable number of actors. Xie Xue had already noted the roles that students had volunteered for, but there were still a dozen or so parts left unassigned. This was the kind of lively production that students would generally be interested in being a part of. Thus, the roles that went unclaimed were probably the kind that weren't very pleasant. Xie Qingcheng took a look, and it was just as he expected. Among the roles that no one had shown interest in, some were caretakers who had to deal with patients' bedpans. Some were pregnant women experiencing strong physical symptoms. And some were homosexuals who had to have intimate interactions with their scene partners. With Huzhou University's attitude, as long as the school had their name on it, they would require the students to act out their roles for real, even though this was just a practice film. This meant that those acting as caretakers would have to handle bedpans for real. Those acting as pregnant women would have to vomit for real. Okay, I think there's a way you can fake that. And those acting as homosexuals would have to kiss and embrace their scene partners for real. Plus, this was the centennial anniversary of the founding of both schools, so everything absolutely had to be just right. If no one volunteered for these difficult roles, students would end up being forcibly conscripted. After carefully looking over the plan, Xie Qingcheng suddenly recalled what He Yu had done to his course materials. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Then, after a moment's contemplation, he picked up his phone and called Xie Shui back. I just realized the title of the chapter just occurred to me. Okay, the title of the chapter is He Walked Right Into a Trap, and Xie Qingcheng is trying to humiliate He Yu by getting him in a role in which he has to kiss a man. But if Xie Qingcheng also participates in the filming as like a doctor, He Yu is absolutely going to walk up to him and kiss him on film. That's what's going to happen. I can see it now. Okay, where the heck am I? Then, after a moment's contemplation, he picked up his phone and called Xie Shui back. I finished reading your email. He leaned back against his office chair, spinning his pen as he spoke in a measured tone. I can act as your medical consultant, but I have one request. What request? Go, just let me know. The character profile of a certain gay role that had been pulled up on the screen reflected in Xie Qingcheng's peach blossom eyes. He swept his gaze indifferently over the rows of text that made up the entire PowerPoint slide. I think there's a role here that you should have He Yu try. Even though Xie Shui was completely baffled to see Xie Qingcheng pulling strings to get He Yu into the role, she assumed it was probably because her brother and He Yu got along well. After all, Xie Qingcheng had watched He Yu grow up since he was just 8 years old. Maybe he wanted to give the kid a chance to train himself. Besides, He Yu was a student in one of the related fields of study. And on top of being handsome, he had also stepped in to act in that garbage drama. He was studying screenwriting and directing at the moment, but there was no saying which side of the camera he would end up working on in the future. Thus, Xie Shui cheerfully agreed to Xie Qingcheng's request. Since the teachers had selected him personally as a volunteer, He Yu was hard-pressed to refuse the role. So, a few days later, after leaving his evening self-study session, He Yu joined the cast and crew of the Many Faces of Malady anthology series for rehearsal. He was to act in The Malady of Love, a short film reflecting the current lived realities of gay men. When Xie Qingcheng arrived, He Yu was in the midst of rehearsing with the other lead actor. He Yu was a new student to begin with, and he wasn't a drama major. He didn't usually need to attend morning warm-ups, and he hadn't taken many drama classes. Though he had stepped in as the 5th male supporting character in that broke-ass little production. That character had resonated with him personally, so playing him had been easy. But now he had landed himself a homosexual character to play. It was seriously torture. Xie Qingcheng leaned against a wall off to the side and watched for a while. Comparing this to when he'd visited the film set in Hangzhou, He Yu's acting ability had basically taken a dive off a cliff. On second thought, that was being overly generous. It would be more accurate to say that He Yu's acting had taken a nosedive off the Great Rift Valley of East Africa. Oh, Henry, I think they just meant he hasn't been in any acting classes. He's been in his screenwriting class, but he doesn't actually, know anything about acting. What the hell was he doing? The script described a sweet, private date between the male lead and his sweetheart. Both of them had to display youthful and inexperienced love and desire. But after observing for a long while, Xie Qingcheng couldn't see even a hint of love in He Yu's performance. Even an AI would have done a better job. How much do you love me? What would you give up for me? The male student who was acting opposite He Yu was quite talented, pouring emotion into his performance as he questioned He Yu with his arms looped around his neck. He Yu said blandly, I love you a lot. I can give up anything if you just ask. Then look into my eyes. A beat of awkward silence followed. He Yu was supposed to stare into his first love's eyes for a long spell, and then, with a sudden surge of passion, lose control and lean down to kiss him. However, as He Yu stared at the other student, his expression turned extremely unpleasant, as if his co-star wasn't his first love, but the arch-nemesis who'd killed his father. Because they were just practicing, they didn't need to worry about the continuity of the scene too much. Seeing the way He Yu had turned silent and still, the male student who was hugging him around the neck swung his arm slightly and spoke up in a soft voice. Guh, kiss me. It would have been fine if the student hadn't used that gentle tone, but as soon as he softened his voice, He Yu shoved him away. He truly couldn't bear it anymore. Face pale, he asked the director, I'm sorry, can we use an angled shot? The person in charge of the short film was a second-year graduate student who was top in the directing major, and an extremely stubborn, cool Shuejie. She shook her head mercilessly. You might be able to negotiate this with someone else, but not with me. I said it clearly when I stated my requirements for my actors. I never use angled shots. He Yu was speechless. Granted, we're only rehearsing right now, so you don't have to kiss him for real. The director Shuejie turned to the other male student once more and said, And you, don't go overboard. You have to let He Yu overcome his mental block, okay? After all, he's not you. You're our school's renowned homo, while he's the renowned straight guy. The young man was actually fine being referred to as a homo. He was different from his fellow closeted comrades, but he was a bit on the extreme side, believing that everyone had to accept LGBT people, and that those who didn't ought to be buried alongside good old Empress Dowager Cixi in the catacombs of history as heretics. Well, I completely agree with him. Go him. I'm fully on his side. He Yu was a relatively restrained person, so although he was homophobic, he didn't express it openly. Thus, believing that his partner was the type who could be converted by force, the young man had acted with unbridled enthusiasm. Deliberately forcing He Yu into this role was an extremely effective means of bullying him, striking him precisely where it hurt. Xie Qingcheng finally felt his irritation ease as he watched He Yu beginning to appear almost carsick, his face green enough to rival a sour plum dangling on a branch in May. He Yu used to be an unfussy child, but ever since their reunion, both his ambitions and physical stature kept scaling newer heights. He no longer held Xie Qingcheng in any regard, and even dared to challenge him. It was only now, as Xie Qingcheng sneeringly watched how helpless He Yu had become in the face of crisis, that he finally remembered how it felt to crush the boy in the past. His coldly solemn face, with its sharply defined features, softened at the thought. It really was quite amusing. Oh, Professor Xie. The director spotted the medical consultant for the many faces of malady. It just so happened to be break time, which gave He Yu some time to adjust his mindset, so he struck up a conversation with Xie Qingcheng. He Yu's really no good. He's done a terrible job in this role. Is that so? Hey, why don't you talk to him? Tell him that gay people are exactly the same as ordinary people, and that there's really no difference when it comes to love. Just look at the way he's acting. It's like he's a zombie. I really can't with him. Lighting a cigarette, Xie Qingcheng said, Very well. Tell him to come over here. He walked behind the heavy curtain of the rehearsal room stage to wait, as he found the area in front too noisy. After a while, an ashen-faced Yu swept aside the hanging cloth and walked through. The velvety red curtains closed behind him. There was no one else here, and as soon as the curtains hid him from potential onlookers' line of sight, Yu shoved Xie Qingcheng against the wall with a bang, hard enough that ash tumbled from Xie Qingcheng's cigarette. "Xie Qingcheng, do you want me to wreck you?" he demanded. "Is that it?" Xie Qingcheng was also very tall, so even though Yu was pinning him tightly against the ice-cold wall, he didn't seem weak at all. He looked Yu up and down with those apathetic peach blossom eyes. "I told you that you must remain calm under any and all circumstances." Yu glared. Soft mockery perfumed with the scent of tobacco drifted between their breaths. Xie Qingcheng asked in a low voice, "Do you not understand?" Yu made no response. "Let go of me." A few seconds later, figuring that he couldn't really strangle Xie Qingcheng to death, Yu shoved him away viciously. "You're making me play this role even though you know that I despise homosexuality." "So?" Xie Qingcheng took his cigarette into his mouth. From this angle, Yu could vaguely make out his delicate white teeth. "If you can't control your emotions when it comes to something so insignificant, then what more is there to be said about anything else? You're abusing your power to get even." Xie Qingcheng's smile was mildly derisive. "You can certainly say so. But what can you do about it?" Yu couldn't figure out what to say. "Go and play your part properly." Xie Qingcheng straightened out Yu's collar. In the darkness cast by the heavy curtains, he gazed placidly up at the youth he had tormented into misery. "I have high expectations of you." "Yu, get back here. We're starting," the director yelled from outside. Yu lingered for a moment, glaring menacingly at Xie Qingcheng. "Just you wait." "Go on then," Xie Qingcheng said, utterly unbothered. Yu walked back out with a dark expression on his face. The rehearsal resumed. This time, it was even worse. Previously, Yu seemed as though he was carsick. Now, he looked extremely, severely, life-threateningly seasick. The more that male student clung to him and tried to drag him deeper into the act, the more vehemently Yu resisted. It was literally like shoving an ox's head underwater when it refused to drink. He rehearsed that scene with the other students several more times, but Yu's performance was truly too disastrous. Every line of dialogue, every gesture and movement of his portrayal was littered with over a dozen mistakes. Not a single take came out smoothly. Once again, the cool director shouted, "Cut!" Then she rolled up the script and roundly scolded Yu. "Good God, man. Are you a robot? Can you please relax your arms and legs a little? And stop acting as though you're about to be violently assaulted, okay? You love him. You love him a lot. He's your first love, and you're only 15. You're very innocent, very brash and impetuous. You think that you have a beautiful future ahead of you. Your heart is filled with courage, and you're ready to take on the whole of society. Do you understand this feeling? Daga, this is the 5th time. Can you please put some heart into it?" Thanks to Yu's public persona as a young man with a great temperament, without a hint of his antisocial personality, everyone thought of him as a model student, and this director wasn't afraid to harangue him like this. But Yu didn't really have the mental energy to hold a grudge against his shuejie. His co-actor's fervent enthusiasm and sincere eyes were driving him to the brink of insanity. When his shuejie shouted "cut," he simply allowed her to berate him as she pleased, while he pressed a hand to his throbbing temples and walked around in circles trying to calm himself. As he was doing so, he caught sight of the main culprit, Xie Qingcheng, leaning against the wall with his long legs leisurely crossed. Yu had to stop himself from lunging at the man and throttling him to death in his rage. Xie Qingcheng shot him a cold smile, then lowered his head and took out his phone. He was about to give Yu a taste of his own medicine. 3 seconds later, Yu's phone vibrated in his pocket. Sorry, Director. I just got a message. Let me check it before we start. Hurry up. Such a diva when your acting is so crappy. Hu Yu opened the message Xie Qingcheng sent to him in full view of the crowd. One unread message. From Godfather. Godfather was the nickname Hu Yu had given Xie Qingcheng on his phone. He felt that Xie Qingcheng was way too much like a feudal patriarch, to the point that he acted even more like his dad than his actual dad. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Xie Qingcheng's text read, "Such dedication. I look forward to your kiss scene." Hu Yu's expression turned chilly, striking fear into the girl next to him. What's wrong? She asked. Xie Qingcheng turned his head and pursed his lips, appearing cold and calm, as if Hu Yu losing his mind had nothing to do with him at all. Hu Yu took a deep breath and fixed his almond eyes unblinkingly on Xie Qingcheng, like he wanted to pin him down and nail him to the wall with his gaze. It's nothing. Just then, the director Xue Jie's distinctively loud voice rang out from the other side of the room. Huh? Really? Is that true? The crowd's attention turned toward her. As it turned out, the acting consultant had gone over and said something that astonished her so deeply that she couldn't help but be skeptical. But if nothing else, this Xue Jie respected her elders, so in the end, after a moment's hesitation, she nodded. All right. There's no harm in trying it, so let's do as you said. It's not like his acting could get any worse. She waved at Hu Yu from a distance. Xue Di, come here for a sec. After some soul-searching, Hu Yu realized that in all 19 years he'd been alive, he'd never really been afraid of anything. But when he saw her beckoning like that, he actually found himself reluctant to approach. Xie Qingcheng sat nonchalantly in his chair with his legs crossed. He urged Hu Yu on silently by mouthing, "Go on." Hu Yu could only shoot Xie Qingcheng a glare that said, "You're dead, just you wait," before walking toward the director like he was climbing the gallows. No one could have foreseen the utterly unthinkable words that came so casually out of the director's vermilion lips. Hu Yu, why don't you try changing your scene partner first? Dumbfounded, Hu Yu frowned. Changing my partner? That's right, the director replied with an impatient wave of her hand. She saw that the young man who was acting opposite Hu Yu was shocked and about to protest, but she mollified him before he could complain. Calm down. It's just a temporary change. We don't have much time left tonight anyway. She turned back to Hu Yu. You can pick any random person here. Anyone who appeals to you. I'll give you some time to talk, then I'll watch you act out a short scene and see if there's any improvement. Hu Yu didn't understand at first, but as realization began to dawn, he narrowed his eyes and slowly turned his head. He ran his tongue over his teeth. As he looked back, his grin spreading so wide that his canines peeked out. I've already made my pick, director. He looked at Xie Qingcheng, who was still watching the show in high spirits, and said with a smile, I choose him. You want the medical consultant to act this out with you? Is that not okay? The director grimaced and said to Hu Yu in a low voice, You'd better choose someone else. He's not from our school, and he's such a famous professor. It'll be hard to convince him. I don't feel anything toward these other people. He's the only one here I find somewhat appealing, Hu Yu said softly. Xue Jie, please let me try it with him. Although this cool director was fierce, she was still very much a straight woman at heart. It was very difficult for her to remain unmoved when being coaxed so gently by a handsome young man. All right then. I'll go talk to him. No need. I know him, so I can go talk to him myself. Hu Yu smiled, already making his way over to Xie Qingcheng. Xie Qingcheng had already vaguely overheard their conversation, and was watching Hu Yu walk toward him with a subtle expression. Hu Yu was very courteous in front of others. He took Xie Qingcheng's hand in a gentlemanly way, and led him to the deserted area behind the curtain. The moment the red curtain fell, however, the gentleman's expression changed, from gentle and refined to degenerate and depraved. Surrounded by the fluttering red curtains, He Yu leaned forward and murmured softly against Xie Qingcheng's neck. Professor Xie, did you know that there's a thing in this world called karmic retribution? I want you all to know that's the end of the chapter. That's where we're ending today. That's where we stop. And we are going to come back on Saturday because I'm trying to catch up to where we should be. So on Saturday, thankfully, I will see you all again. And we will be starting with chapter 34, which is called So We Went Ahead and Acted Out the Scene. Now, Saturday it's supposed to snow here, so I can't guarantee that my internet will behave. And if my internet doesn't behave, that means that my next stream is probably just going to be Monday, and I will try once again next week to have 3 streams and fit one extra in somewhere. But I'm really hoping that Saturday will work out. If Saturday my internet is being bad, there's a possibility I could make it Sunday, but I'm not sure if that's going to work. So I don't know. Who knows? I will keep you all posted. But yeah, what a rude place to end the stream for today. Oh my god. Wow. It's Psychine. It's like a prank war that's getting more and more out of hand. Exactly. They're just going to keep playing tricks on each other, and they're going to like just escalate and escalate until... I don't know. But, you know... I said that I could not predict what happens in the story, and I still feel that way, but I feel vindicated that I predicted what He Yu was going to do in this situation. Of course, it's only because the chapter title was like that I figured it out, but you know. Henry, more Danmei need gay chicken. Yes, I agree. Wait, I predicted a He Yu choice twice now. What was the other one I predicted? My memory is bad. I'm already forgetting. The Love Island. Oh, that was, you mean I predicted that it was actually Xie Qingcheng in the costume? Okay, yeah. I did. I got that one too. But that one was like, I was like, listen, the person in the costume is not speaking. Something is up. It was fishy. And something he was gonna do too? That I don't remember. Okay. But... jellyfishy. Yes. I'm also gonna go back and figure out which cover it is that has the jellyfish on it, because I swear there's a jellyfish cover. I'm not gonna look too hard at it, but you know, not that I don't think the covers could even spoil me for very much, because like this series has been so unpredictable that I'm just like, it's fine. Oh, I figured out that he was planning to get them stranded on the island. Oh, thank you, Henry. It's volume 4. Okay. God, okay. I guess I did. I don't even remember that. But good to know. Maybe I'm just really good at getting in He Yu's head for some reason, which is concerning to me. But yeah, thank you all for coming to the stream. I will hopefully see you on Saturday. Bye.